Can you speak to the masculine, feminine inside of yourself? Like, this is a journey that I'm very much on right now. It's like I won't say my number one, but like a very high priority over the next, however long it takes to really heal my father wound, heal my relationship with the masculine, and in so doing, like, find a way to hold myself, like to find that loving father figure inside of myself, to hold space for the feminine inside of me. Like, can you speak to your journey of your masculine and feminine and what that has felt like, what's been challenging, what you've learned, what you desire?
You ask the best questions, Emily. You're such an incredible podcast host. I love you.
You.
Again, it's been a journey, and I started my path being very strongly in my masculine. I had no connection to my feminine energy whatsoever. Then the pendulum swung when I went from working in an office and just doing all the logistics all day, every day, and I went fully into my artist. And I thought that to be spiritual meant to make every decision from my heart. And actually, that can create problems. And what I mean by that is that in this moment, my heart feels excited. So I make a decision, but then recognizing true character is to stay with that decision long after the moment has passed, long after the heat or the excitement of the moment has passed. That's what true character is. And if I keep making all the decisions from my heart, it's impulsive, it's hasty, it's wishful, it's here, it's present. But then am I following through later when the moment has actually passed? Because there needs to be a healthy amount of logic. There needs to be a decision made, and this is the balance card in tarot, where the brain and the heart are balanced on the scales. And then you make a decision from that place. The awakened state, the pineal gland, sits in a beautiful center point between your left and your right lobes of the brain. This is what it means to be an awakened being, is when you have balanced your masculine and your feminine within yourself. And so when I realized I was making all my decisions from my heart and I wasn't integrating a lot of logic in, and I was kind of flaky, and I wasn't really following through. And I was like, my character was not super strong because I wasn't following through with what was exciting in the moment. And then when it came to a month later, I was like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. So I devoted a period of my life to Blue Daddy. I said it was Blue Daddy season. And I was working on the Emperor card in the tarot at the time. And the Emperor is the systems, the logistics, the finances, the orchestration of creating the container, the space, the home, so that the life force energy, the feminine, can thrive within it. And in the Gene Keys, it talks about the masculine and the feminine energy being similar to looking at a cell under a microscope. You will see that the cell has a cell membrane. That's the masculine. And then it has the life force energy that vibrates the cell, that keeps it alive, is the feminine. Now, if you just had the cell membrane, you just had the masculine, it would be a dead cell because there would be no life in it. Now, if you just had the feminine, it would be a dead cell because there's nothing containing it. So you need to have a healthy balance of the both to have a healthy cell. Now, we're 75 trillion cells. Every single cell in my body is happy because I've integrated my masculine, my feminine, my go and my flow, my structure and my life force energy, the creative, intuitive wisdom partnered with the structure that is needed for any magic to be birthed in the 3D. How do we have this podcast? How are you listening to this podcast right now? Okay, well, Emily went out of her way, sought after a studio. Then she hired a production company. She got all of the equipment. She emailed the guests. She set times. They showed up on time. This is the masculine energy that is required to set the container. Now, once the container is set, Emily shows up within the podcast and says a prayer. And she doesn't speak from a script. She doesn't say something that was pre-planned. You drop in, you take a breath, and you allow whatever wants to flow out your mouth in complete trust that that's the medicine of the moment. That is the feminine principle. What happens on your podcast, you have no idea. The second that you start rolling the cameras, it is in Goddess's hands. It is in the universe's hands, but you set the container, you set the intention, you set the space, you smudged it, you got clear on your why with your guest, you had your guest fill out an intake form of talking about all of it is what it is that they offer. You set the space so the magic can flow. So this is a living example of the integrated masculine and feminine within you, and an acknowledgement that it's already happening. But for anything to be birthed into the 3D, any magic, any intuition, any divine intervention, it has to have the structure to be shared with the world.